So you mean try to get to their flank? So try to get to their side?
On the side, controlling the elbow.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's not a bad idea. That isn't, from our perspective, from the internal perspective, that's a consequence of crushing through the center. Meaning, so you know, flanking someone's always a wonderful idea in combat. So it's a great idea. Let me just say that first. The way we think of it is that, okay, let's say the bad guy's in front of me. I'm gonna come straight at him and I'm gonna drop this bomb inside his face, right? And he's gonna feel that, right? Now, if for some way, shape, reason, as I go to punch him in the straightest possible line, whether I'm hit him in the throat or the jaw, whatever, let's say I'm gonna strike him in the chin, for example, let's say I can go right through. Let's say my power, my mass, my momentum, my intention is good enough. I would punch straight through, good, job's done. Game's over, I go home, eat spaghetti. But let's just say, as I go to punch, they meet me with force which does not allow me to go through. Let's say they have a matching level of force or power that stops me. That would then lead to the rolling of either my arms or my body to the flank. So because I can't hit through, that's why I go to the flank. So if you think about, for example, the wooden dummy, how it has a spherical like cylinder, right? As I go through to hit the dummy, there's a point where, of course, I can't actually go any further because it's a static object. So my body spins around it. So, you know, just like this, if this object wants to come towards it and it can't go through it, it has to spin around to the outside. So flanking is a natural consequence of the shape of the body meeting. So here's my circle. I meet the other person and I roll to the flank. I roll to the flank, depending on which side is A, open, and B, what pressure that person is giving me. So as I come through to hit, boom, I've crushed through, wonderful, job done. I go through to hit, I meet force, my body then spins to the flank, and then I continue. So yes, it's a good idea to get to their flank, but it should be a natural consequence of the rolling of your structure forward with the intention to strike. Because if you're trying to get to the side without first going forward, you lose the advantage of mass and momentum because you're moving your body consciously sideways as opposed to forwards and spinning. See the difference? One is me, for example, say this is me. Okay, that's my center there, C for center. So my center's coming straight forward, right? To hit, right? And then as I go to hit, I meet resistance, so I spin with the contact of the person as the kind of the initiator of my spin. So I'm spinning on them, just like a ball that meets something and spins around them. So I'm always thinking forward. The difference would be if the bad guy's here, for example, and I consciously go this way without going forward. See how now my mass is going this way as opposed to going this way. So you always want mass and momentum on your side. So your intention should always be to crush straight through, and flanking will be a natural consequence of that forward roll. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's not wrong to go to the flank. I'm not saying it's wrong, and it's a good tactic, right? But if we think about, okay, directness, about maximizing potential power, we must go forward first. Otherwise, you may most likely you'll be putting your weight and momentum away from them if I'm sidestepping them as opposed to meeting them.
My concern would be, just one more question, my concern would be meeting that force with force.
Yes, that's why we train.
Because the force would be greater than mine, because I'm lightweight.
Yeah, that's right. So even though you're lightweight, right, your structure, as you develop your structure, the connection of your structure will be what allows you to spin. So if as you connect the arm to the spine and the stance, when you meet some force, right, rather than collapsing, which means you have no structure, the body will spin around that point. Yeah. So you're allowing the structure to spin naturally. So yes, I understand the concern of, okay, if I meet force with force, I'll lose because they have a greater mass and greater force. But we're not meeting force with force, we're meeting them with power. That's why we train. And power is your natural body structure infused with the mind and spirit so that it naturally has a defensive mechanism set up. your arms don't collapse because they're connected, they're unified through the state, training, and form, so you have a good structure so that the shapes can spin both in the arms and in the center. So the arms have, like, you think of this like the first release valve, like as a summary. So this can spin when it meets force, it spins, and then the spine is like the second release valve. So I'm coming forward, I go to hit, it can't hit because they're too forceful and my power's not good enough. So my arm might spin, right? My arm might spin into a bong sound, and then as my forward center keeps going forward, my center spins to the flank. So you still flank them 100%, but you do it in a powerful way as opposed to just stepping out of the way, which would actually give them an advantage because there's nothing actually connecting to their center. So I understand your concern, and that's a very, it's a good question because it shows you're actually thinking about it. So then we say, okay, what happens if I'm meeting it with force and they're meeting it with force? Okay, we train not to be forceful, but the further point to that is that your state is going to be what overrides their force, meaning the intelligent, precise directionality of your mind, your mass, your momentum, your energy into their center, which is what we practice in state and form. So you're not really thinking, I'm just gonna meet the force of their arms with my arms. You're meeting their center with your mass, momentum, intention, energy. So that as soon as you contact them, they should feel a sense of destabilization. Oh, they're getting off balanced, and because they're off balance, their structures tighten up. Because their structures tighten up and because they're off balance, it becomes easy for you to strike through and manipulate their body, which is the real kind of secret source of our system, is that you shut them down with power as opposed to meet their force with force. And that's what we're cultivating. We're cultivating that through our state and our form. It takes time to develop, but it's very doable. You know, people are here doing it all the time. My master could do it, your man can do it, and that's why we're all here to bring that power out. So I know that was a lot of words, but I think you understand what I'm saying.
Good, thank you.
Awesome. Keep training. That's how you embed the state. That's how you infuse the spirit, the power, the internal power into your system, so that you won't have to worry about how much force they've got. They'll have to worry about how much power you have. They'll be like, holy moly, what the hell's coming out of this lady? Like, people aren't that really impressed when I do it to them, because they're like, yeah, you've been doing martial arts your whole life and you're a big dude. Most people are impressed when, like, my ex-wife who trained with me for a while, or my son who's like, you know, he's much smaller than me, when he does it, because he's so small compared to me. So like, holy shit, how's he do that? And I go, I know, right? So yeah.
Thank you.
Pleasure.